when that first study came out, I mean, it was shocking. It shocked everyone. It was like, what? This is where we are?
1, 2, 3. Welcome to She Rocked It. This is the place where ladies are talking about the ways we're blazing our trails and the things that put the wind in our sails.
Hello, and welcome to the She Rocked It podcast. I am your host, Karen Gross, and I am so excited to welcome you to this conversation with a rock star working to make music more inclusive for women, and we so need that. And if you listen to our first 2 episodes this season, you know that there's not enough women working in the music industry. We got to hear from some incredible women in our first 2 episodes this season who are on stage and off stage in the industry, representing for women, but we really need a concerted effort, pun intended, to get more women into the industry. And so today I could not be more excited to have Michelle Arkuski here from LA. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Karen. Thanks
Oh
for
my
having me.
gosh. So excited and honored to speak with you. Michelle is the head of She Is the Music. She's going to tell you more about what She Is the Music is up to in just a minute. But I just want to say real quick how Michelle and I connected. It actually was through one of the women who was featured in the podcast in the previous episode. Yes, Professor Rashida Scott Cruz, who's a professor of music industry, right, at Monmouth University. She said, you got to meet Michelle. And we connected. So I just want to say we're so all about that, the women connecting women, that rock star network we always talk about women making these connections, and that's how it all happens. So, right, Michelle, I couldn't be more grateful.
Absolutely. It's the most appropriate way for us to have met, really. Women connecting other women.
I couldn't agree more. And that's how the magic happens. And speaking of how the magic happens, tell us about all the magic that you were up to with She Is the Music from your mouth. I want to hear all the great things that you're up to. And thank you so much again for joining us here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. So for everybody who doesn't know, which I think is quite a few people, She Is the Music is a 501c3 nonprofit. It was started by Alicia Keys, Jody Gerson, Ann Mincielli, Sam Kirby-Yo, and Dr. Stacy Smith after the USC Annenberg Inclusion Initiative released a study on women in music. The numbers showed that women are missing, and they created She Is the Music to increase the number of women working in music. The organization was founded in 2017. So right now, we just launched our 4th annual global mentorship program. We obviously have our database, which is the largest database of female creators in music, both executives and on the creative side. And then we, of course, have our all-women songwriting camps. So those are our 3 pillars that we focus on. And within those, we have a ton of great events. We have a camp coming up in New York City. We have a college ambassador program. It's a very busy time for us. So it's awesome.
You know, I think we'll talk about this in a minute. I think both of us have worked in philanthropy, and like myself in communications, you've done a lot of amazing stuff we'll talk about in a moment. But I think part of philanthropy is taking data, taking information, and hopefully taking action from it, right? And it's so awesome that, you know, this study, which was not awesome, which revealed the lack of women, the USC Annenberg study was devastating, and how small the percentages were of women working across different parts of the industry. But that's so cool that like She Is the Music came out of that as a way of proactively addressing that lack. It's
pretty incredible. And I think what is the most inspiring is that these are all women who have full-time jobs. They are C-suite executives, and they found the time and passion to create and make a difference and develop something that hopefully creates change for the future. And everybody involved in She Is the Music, except for myself, is a volunteer. So the organization is truly run on women who want to create change and impact.
So let's talk a little bit about how you got involved, and I want to hear about your journey leading up to She Is the Music. So why don't we maybe start there a little bit? Tell us a little bit about your trajectory and how you landed in this really incredible role.
Like most people, I kind of didn't know I knew what I wanted to do. I was actually a musical theater major.
Wow.
Took a sharp left turn somewhere.
Where did you major in musical theater?
I was at the New School.
Wow, New York.
Yes, and decided after a year I hated it, moved to LA, transferred.
I am out. West Coast, here I come.
Got a different major. I mean, it was tough. I was 18. I wanted a different campus experience. So I majored in communications. I transferred to UCLA. I did a quick 180. And I got my first job as a digital marketing assistant at an organization called Stand Up to Cancer. And they're known for their celebrity telecasts, takeovers, and it's still around. It's an incredible organization for cancer research. And I kind of figured out that social impact and philanthropy was my lane. I was really passionate about it, and I was really passionate about taking celebrity platforms or athletes or anyone who has a name and figuring out what it is that they're passionate about and creatively working to solutions for large global issues. And that really excited me. So I was like, wow, I think this is it, which is a good feeling to have. Over time, I stayed and went to an organization called Entertainment Industry Foundation. They basically house the 501c3s to various celebrity nonprofits, Charlize Theron's, Panic at the Disco, G-Eazy, Colin Kaepernick. I stayed there for a while, oversaw communications and development for all the different funds, which was cool because I got to work across.
That's quite a cross-section of celebrities there too. Wow.
I mean,
that's amazing.
And it was so many different missions. So it was really cool to dabble and work across all these different areas.
Yeah.
And one day, Alicia's, and She Is the Music, came over to Entertainment Industry Foundation. Then at first it was just this, I don't want to say a passion project because that undermines it, but it was a growing organization.
Mm-hmm.
And it started to get bigger and bigger, and everyone started to realize the importance of She Is the Music very quickly. And my CEO at the time said, you have enough background in your life with entertainment and music. I think this would be a really good fit for you, and you can help really develop and strategize growth for this organization. Fast forward 3.5 years, and here we are. And I feel so, so lucky and so grateful because I work with the most amazing women. I truly, truly believe in the work that we're doing, and I get to see tangible change every day.
Wow. Goosebumps moments right here. That's so interesting. And there were so many points on the journey for you, I feel like, as you were talking about the shifts kind of along the way, where you had to, kind of either make a conscious decision to pivot or a conscious decision to kind of raise your own voice in a more courageous way. I mean, stepping into a CEO role is a big deal. What kind of gave you the courage to say, I'm going to run this organization? What did that take any kind of mindset work or were you like, I'm there, this is me? How did that work for you?
I was really nervous, and not, I think it's just this general imposter syndrome that women can have. There's this statistic or thing that I often hear about: if men see a job and here are the qualifications, they may not meet all of them, they'll still apply. Whereas women will be like, oh, like it says 8 years, I have 6, like I'm not going to apply for this role. And I really, really believe that that's something that's innate just as a woman. So I had major imposter syndrome going into this role. I knew that it was going to be the most exciting, leveling up, growing learning experience in my career at that point, and I knew that I wanted to do it. But yeah, it definitely took a shift in mindset. And of course, I say that, I mean, I had this incredible board of directors and founders behind me who are the most amazing women. And it's not like I was ever doing this alone. They're a huge part of the day-to-day of this organization. But, just kind of figuring out what it is we want to do, what we want to focus on, what we want this to be in 5 or 10 years. That was something that was intimidating.
I so appreciate your honesty. I feel like, no, I do. Like, we have to, because why aren't women in the music industry? Why aren't women the statistics of women leading big companies is also paltry. I mean, it's like, why? What's going on? And I think like we have to first be honest about our own, and it's not, I'm not blaming women, but like that this is something happened. So I think, thank you for sharing that. And it's so important, I think, because I feel the same way on so many aspects of my life. Who am I to host a podcast, to talk on a stage, to share my, who it's like constant. So
and
thank
look at
you.
And look at how cool this is. And it's like, it's so funny. I'm going to digress very quickly. Another example of this is I was trying to connect women who started their own management companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to get a group of specifically managers in music who started their own companies. And there were so few of them. There were so few of them. And the more and more I thought about it, the more I realized how many men had the courage and to go and start their own management companies, and how that's still something that's developing for women, I think. And that's not to say it doesn't exist, but it's a smaller number.
Yeah. So much to unpack there. We probably could have a whole series, which maybe you'll join me on that, about why women aren't leading things. Yeah, it's really true. What are you, based on the fact that you all do a lot of mentoring and you're trying to cultivate women leaders and across the industry, what are you kind of seeing on the ground?
These mentees that we get through our programs, I'm going to talk about that specifically because that's what I see and that's, what's close to home. The women who come through our mentorship program are so driven, so talented, so smart. They're such go-getters. We have placed about 25 women in their first jobs and internships on the business side of the industry.
Wow.
And I have all the faith that eventually these older white guys are going to retire. No offense. I don't want to get in trouble for saying that, but they're going to retire and women are really going to start stepping in and owning these positions.
Yep.
So I think on the business side, I have all the optimism in the world. I think on the creative side, it's a little harder and I think it's a work in progress and I'm still optimistic, but that's deep-rooted change that needs to happen.
Can you unpack that a little bit? When you say creative side, is that like in the studio? Is that the artists? Is that like producers? We know there's very few producers. So like what do you mean a little bit by that?
So we just got the results of Dr. Stacy's new study, which is always very exciting and very depressing at the same time. The good news is that there is an increase of female artists, and that's amazing. And an increase in Black female artists. There's a broader representation. The number of producers who are women and the number of songwriters has not changed. And it's I think it's twofold. I think we need to make more of an effort to lean in and hire those female songwriters. that being said, there's just less producers. There's not as many female producers. When I'm putting on a camp, it's hard. It is hard to find those women. And we have a database that helps us incredibly. We have referrals and word of mouth. And I'm not saying that as an excuse because my biggest pet peeve is I don't know female producers. I don't know female songwriters. I don't think that works anymore. But objectively, there are fewer women producers. And I think the educational process of that is starting to improve.
I'm so into all this. Again, this is such a conversation to unpack because I'm so curious about what are the roadblocks on that journey is really what I'm thinking about. Being a songwriter myself, I mean, I could tell you all about my journey of roadblocks, even just, and I think Rashida had mentioned this in our conversation with her at the Bridge studio, just even women feeling safe and comfortable in a studio environment, women feeling comfortable when it's still mostly men working in studios as engineers, right? And navigating that landscape. And, I'm curious are we post Me Too? Is it still Me Too? Like, do you have any thoughts on the landscape it's post Me Too, I guess, in that Me Too there's awareness, but, there was just an article I read even about Hollywood, like have things changed really? Are you thinking that, is it still a big roadblock?
Obviously, this is my opinion. So I don't have factual evidence to back this up, but in some ways, I think because of Me Too, film and television had at least an awareness and a reckoning. I don't know how much that really trickled into music. And I say that because it's still, when we do these all women songwriting sessions in camps, the amount of women that come into the studio and say, well, I haven't even been in the studio with one other woman. I've never been with a group of all women before. This is a magical experience. I just don't think that it's the culture. There's no HR. If you go into it's crazy. The stories that I've heard from songwriters, one of them goes by a male name because she was Latin and didn't want to get pigeonholed into not being given opportunities because she was a woman. But she said she'd go into the studio and guys would be like, hey, come sit on my lap. I'll show you Pro Tools. And it's like, great. She can talk to her manager. She can talk. At the end of the day, that guy is still going to do his thing. He's still going to be successful. Yeah. There's no repercussions on his end. And the only thing is if she's not cool with it or if he gets upset, they won't work together. Or, it's like this, it's such a strange dichotomy, so I don't know. I don't know if it's had its Me Too. I like to think that there's way more respect, but I also know that there are constant horror stories. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think the idea of women coming together, talking about it, finding communities like you're creating, safe spaces where they can learn and share these stories is the first step at the very least, right? What you're creating is a space so that women aren't islands dealing with all of this. And I know certainly coming up myself, 20 years ago, I was in studio environments alone with men, which fortunately were very safe. But I was in high school when I did my first demo. I was, 16, 17 years old in studio with a man after school. And always felt like, but even at that young age, I had to sort of use my gut to say, is this okay? And that producer who actually ended up winning a Grammy, thank you, Jim Crivero. Yes. Cool. Right. I'm 16. So, but that was a great safe space for me to create, but that doesn't always happen. And that can really stop a woman right in the tracks of her journey as an artist. You have two choices when that kind of horror story happens, like you just mentioned in the studio. One is that you try to persevere. The other is like, I'm out. I'm going to do another job, you know? It's so valuable what you're doing. I'm so happy that the organization was something fruitful that came from this research and that you're moving the needle through the work you're doing. That's how it all begins, right? Is that
I
changing
hope
of
so.
the tide.
Yes. Yes, it is.
I so appreciate that. And such to kind of to switch gears back
Yes.
to your own story in terms of changing of tides. I was struck by what you said about abandoning your musical theater trajectory. Because, you know, when you're on that path, which is also somewhat of has its own set of challenges, right? But like, that was a brave thing to do at a relatively young age. You seem to have had almost like a lightning bolt moment where you're like, this is not aligning with me somehow. And you did something really brave, which was to kind of start over across the country, right? And then embark on a whole new path. I'm curious about that moment for you, because I think that some women are in various stages of their career, maybe feeling stuck or maybe feeling like they're not where they're supposed to be. What was it that gave you that confidence to pivot so dramatically and kind of rethink your life path, essentially?
It's twofold, right? Because I want everyone to follow their dreams, and I don't want people to think like, oh, she gave up on her dream. And it wasn't that, right? I came from a background where, you know, I was taking out loans. College is very expensive.
Yeah.
Looking back, I probably could have still had that degree and gone and did whatever I wanted in my life. But for whatever reason, I felt like, you know what, this isn't it. I don't want to do this. If it's meant to be, I'll audition on the side or something, but I want to get an education that I feel good about paying for. Like, it's a very personal thing for me. You know what I mean? It's
Sure. And it's a lifestyle. I mean, let's be real. It's kind of like, what kind of life do you envision for yourself? Not just career,
yeah,
like you said. You know, what do you want
it
your whole life to
wasn't
feel like?
exactly. And I wasn't entirely sure that I wanted that lifestyle.
Yeah.
Now, when I told it, it was the hardest decision. I make it sound like it was so easy. Like, I knew that when I was going to go to my parents and tell them this, they were going to be like, excuse me? Like, what? You want to
Yeah.
what? You want to go where? And so, but you know, everything happens for a reason. And I still sing in my shower. I still sing in my car. I,
Good.
I go see all the musicals. I'm still a big musical theater nerd. And that'll never change. That will be with me for the rest of my life. But it's
Yeah.
like, I also now have a career that I stumbled upon that's fulfilling, that's rewarding, that I love. And I don't know, life is sometimes very nonlinear, and I don't recommend people to break off their dream or their path. It's whatever is right for everyone, and everyone is different.
That's so well said. And I think, you know, your, I want to say past life in a way, your former calling as an artist, I'm sure really informs all the work that you're currently doing with people walking that path. I mean, like, I think that gives you probably a deep empathy that you know, may not have had if you were coming at it from more of like a business, if you were an MBA or something, let's say, right?
Yeah. I have the utmost respect and admiration, and I just, you know, in a way, I'm like, you continued this, you stuck with it, you're doing it. And that is more than what I can say. That's what more than a lot of people can say.
Yeah.
And you know in your heart that this is the path that you want to pursue. And it's hard and you're choosing it. And so I love the artists and creative people I meet, and I 100% feel like it's given me a different outlook on the industry and anyone who wants to pursue something like that.
I love that. And just because I'm kind of curious, not to be gossipy or anything, but like, I think it's just so exciting and glamorous that you've worked with these celebrities. And how does that feel for you? I mean, do you get starstruck? Are you kind of like, oh my God, Cyndi Lauper's here? Like, wow. Like, tell us about some of that.
Yes and no, right? I mean, it's really exciting. It's really cool. And I feel like when I look back, I'll be able to be like, wow, what an amazing ride and experience, but I try to stay grounded and set and
That's
not
probably
be
a good idea.
I just don't, I know that I'm in music, but I still am like, I'm in philanthropy. It's this bridge of worlds, right?
And tell us about some of the rock star women who've come into the organization and been mentors. And feel free to name drop a couple of this, because I know, but yeah, just so folks get a sense. That like you are really bringing in some of the most highly respected talent across musical genres too. Tell us a little bit about some of the women who've been involved.
Obviously, Alicia Keys, Cyndi Lauper, Mary J. Blige, Nisha, who's an incredibly talented songwriter for Beyonce and her own artist and write. We've had Linda Perry, who's a huge advocate of ours, Brandi Carlile, who's a huge advocate of ours. I mean, it's just been amazing to see people realize and participate in these programs.
That's awesome. And I know you probably don't want to speak for Alicia Keys, but like, could you give us a little window into maybe why this is so particularly important to her? Obviously, as a woman who's navigated the industry herself, just any reflections that you could voice on her behalf about
woman who's, I mean, that alone in its own right. I think she just, there was a time where she realized that she wasn't getting credit for some of the things that she was doing, writing, producing. I mean, she's a producer. Mm-hmm. And I think she started to see men taking credit for some of the work, not necessarily that she was doing, that other women were doing. And, I think she realized this is bigger than just a couple people. This is happening industry-wide. This is happening to everyone. So I'm sure that's just a tiny piece of the puzzle on her end, but not speaking for her. I know everybody was really impacted by the first USC Annenberg Inclusion Initiative study. I mean, we kind of had, because of that study, now these numbers live in our head. We have some awareness. Yep. We kind of know. But when that first study came out, I mean, it was shocking. It shocked everyone. It was like, what? This is where we are? And even today, it's like, this is where we still are? It's crazy. Yeah.
It is crazy. It's like we had that feeling that was the case, but then actually seeing the hard numbers was like, oh,
the producers and the songwriters is scary. It's really scary.
But we have reasons to be hopeful with all the great work you're doing and all the women coming up.
There are so many women coming up. There are so many women already in the industry who just need that shot. They need to be hired. They need to be trusted. You can't be what you can't see. And I really believe that at least now, people are starting to see it exists. We just have to take it to that next level.
I love it. And Michelle, can you just give us a little glimpse into like your day-to-day life? I imagine it's pretty demanding. But just tell us like how what's your day look like, and like how do you manage to kind of look after your own self and self-care and, keeping your soul nourished amidst this very important work?
That's what singing in the shower in the car is for. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, amen.
No, I mean, look, I could not do my job without the huge band of women behind me. And I don't say that as a platitude. I say it because this organization is volunteer. I mean, take me out and it's still functioning because of all the amazing women who are ideating and working behind the scenes to make everything possible. So I'm very grateful to them. And then, day to day, it's like anyone else's day, right?
Except you're, hanging with Linda Perry and Alicia Keys, just.
No, it's cool. We have, there's a lot of different projects. Typically, planning camps a few months in advance is a big task in and of itself. Whether that's flying writers in, lodging, studio time, it's an event. There's a lot of event-based planning. There's a lot of regular events, and there's a lot of projects with Alicia, without Alicia, and it certainly makes time go by very quickly. But I'm not my best. I can't be of service or do my best work for anyone if I'm not in a good place and if I'm not taking care of myself. So, if I have to wake up super early to get a workout in, to clear my head, I will. I really try to prioritize my sleep. I mean, it's just like basic stuff that I try really, really hard to keep myself accountable to.
No, I think that's actually really, it sounds like obvious, but I think it's really important to hear that from you, because I feel like some women, especially entrepreneurs, let's say, the first thing to go is our sleep. Me, hello. So that's actually great. That's a great reminder. I appreciate you saying that, or getting up early to have that moment. I love hearing that, honestly.
If I have to do it late at night, I will. I know not everyone can. Look, I'm not a mother. That alone, if you're an entrepreneur and a mother, if you're a single mother, I mean, that I can't even fathom, right?
Yeah,
so
I hear that. Me too.
That might change things entirely. So it's easy for me to be like, yeah, I'm going to work out and wake up super early because I'm not accountable for anyone but my dogs, and me.
That's a point well taken. I'm in the same boat. It's me and my cat. But it's true. And we honor that. And we honor rock star moms and mom entrepreneurs who are crushing it. And
100%.
Yeah.
Hello. They're doing literally God's work. So, but it's the little things. I try to keep my phone away at a certain time, meaning like 11 at night.
No, this is all honestly great. Like, we hear about this, like these are the daily rituals that we should do, but like to hear that you're doing them is inspiring, I think.
I'm trying. I know I'm trying.
That's awesome.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
We're doing our best. We're trying.
Oh my gosh, Michelle, so much in this conversation. I'm so grateful. Wow.
I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. And I can't let you go without asking our final question. We always ask our guests, what is their one tip to rock it? You've already given us so many great tips. Now we know about all your important self-care habits. But if there's one more tip that you want to leave with us, is there one more tip to rock it that you'd want to share with the She Rocked It community?
I would just say no imposter syndrome. Go for it. Like, you're enough. Do it. Just go for it. I think that's, the biggest lesson that I took, that I'm going to take.
We are enough. Thanks so much for tuning into the She Rocked It podcast. I'm your host, Karen Gross. This episode has been produced by Tori Marchioni with audio engineering by Tung Chen. The She Rocked It theme song is by Karen Gross and Tim Motzer. Visit our Instagram page at She Rocked It to join the conversation, and visit our website, sherockedit.com, to learn about how you can join our community, support our work, and attend our live events. Also, you can apply on our website for our Rocket Launcher group mentorship program. See you there.